All good? So what's so special about this class that you recorded?
Your lecture?
Yeah? So what's special about it?
Your class is so hard, so I need to make sure I know
Have
what
you
I'm
been
doing.
recording everything?
No, not everything, just some lectures.
So why tonight?
Because, just because.
Just because. All right. All right, let's start. So this is NASDAQ, and we talked about dead cat bouncing when we got to this level. Because some people thought that this is a quick correction and then we're gonna bounce back. The term dead cat bouncing basically tells you that there is more pain to come, and the market sometimes reacts, and people who are in daily trading, they will be looking more of oscillation in the market movement, and they will take advantage. So for some people who got in here, meaning they bought the market here, they lost around 4%. People who got it here and thought that this is not good enough level to sell, and they held it further. It didn't only erase this part, but also it lost more. Yes?
Do you believe that it's still going to go down, or it's going to jump back up?
I have no idea, right? So this is what you can tell me based on what you learned in this class. So what do we do here is we add your lovely Bollinger Bands. So what does that tell you here? It tells you based on 1 month moving average and volatility and standard deviation. Remember, based on 1 month, because this is the default of Bloomberg, 20 trading days. In a month, you have anywhere between 21, 22, 23 max trading days. The rest are weekends and holidays. So the default of Bloomberg, because they don't want to play with 21 or 23 or 22, they just put it to 20 trading days, roughly a month. So if your time horizon is 1 month and 1 month only, this tells you that this is a buy. Why? Because it is way further down from the 1 month moving average, and it is touching an area where the data points can be there only 2.5% of the time, right? So that's based on 1 month view. Now the question is, can we have a longer view? And we said that if we're gonna wish for something in this Thanksgiving, we're gonna wish for a right click. So we're gonna do 60 days, which equates to 3 months. So based on 3 months average, sorry, 3 month moving average and 3 months volatility, this is a screaming buy. Do you see that? Right? So your lower Bollinger Band is 74.06. Currently you are trading at 71.08. If your time horizon is 3 months, this is a super buy. Now, if your time horizon is longer than that, six months, come on. It's still looking a good buy. Let's take one year. So based on 1 year time horizon, this is still on the buy side, but it's not as compelling as the 3 months, the 6 months, and the 1 month. Right? So that depends on your time horizon. Now, in MBA 221 class, their first midterm is about how do you take advantage of market misallocation and fear and movements and all that. Now, in this case, some people might say, all right, if I have 100 grants sitting in cash, how do I deploy them? How do I make them to work for me? So the first thing that I would be looking at is the retracement that I looked at, and this is by annotation. You will look at holding period return, and you will find that since the beginning of September till now, so we have September and almost October, 7 weeks till now, you saw a discount or a sell-off in NASDAQ around 12%. Is this good enough? Right? Is there a compelling value here? And that takes you to the level, remember what I mentioned to you in this class way back when? The market will always give you another chance. So that will take you roughly to May of this year. So what does that really imply? It tells you that if you bought here and you didn't exercise any realized gains, meaning you didn't take advantage of a bull market and you sat on the money thinking that this is gonna go up to this X, to that red X, then the good old saying in Wall Street applies. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs got slaughtered. Right? So when pigs get slaughtered, this is what happens. You had your chance. And this is what decision science is all about. So if you bought here, the market gave you 16% rally. If you were to get greedy and thinking that there is more juice to squeeze from the market, you're wrong. The market erased almost 12.5% of that 16%. So that's why decision science is really important, because this is one way to decide when to pull and when to continue, right? And that's the story that I wanted to share with you today. Lots of people are angry in the market. Lots of people are not happy with what's going on right now because they are under the impression things will perpetually continue to get better. And people, for the last 10 years, didn't get accustomed to lots of volatility in the market. Volatility is really low. That means standard deviation is really low. So whenever there is stronger standard deviation in the data series, like what we've been seeing since the beginning of the month, this is the time where data science kicks in addition to behavioral finance, right? So for you literally to be able to make 15% plus, call it 16% on your money, if you deposit your money into any of these banks right now, it will take you easily 8 years. The market did it for you in 4 months. Was that good enough? Right? And this is part of the relative value that we were talking about when we did ratio analysis. The conversation that you have to have had with yourself if you were investing in this market, right? So this is the anchor. So when people ask their financial advisors or brokers or what have you, when do we get out? Well, you get out based on the risk-free rate. What is risk-free rate? It's the rate that the banks will pay you for your certificate of deposit or your savings account. How much do you get paid on your savings account? 0, right? Right now, if you put your money in certificate of deposit, that means you put the money in, you lock it up for a year or so, you will be getting around 2 to 1.5-ish, right? Per year. Now, if you're willing to take risk, you will get multiples of that, but the story here is of two folds. Number one, and that's why people in finance and investments, they get paid and they get paid well, because you are sticking your neck out and you are betting on market movements. And this is the regression analysis that we did, right? So when you have a risk-free rate of 2.5%, the market is giving you 16%, and you don't take advantage of that, that's a problem. Now, some people think that, what about if I bought here and I sold there and I pocketed, realized 16% rate of return, but the market continued to rally. And this is where we get FOMO. Any idea what this is about? Yes. So fear of missing out overtakes, right, what's already guaranteed. So at this decision point, right, it's almost like Deal or No Deal. Right? You remember that TV show, Deal or No Deal, with all those suitcases? When you are guaranteed 16% and you are shooting for the stars, right? The market could pull one of those on you and you will end up making 3%. And at that point, regret will start kicking in, right? And it will be very counterproductive. Now, for people to jump into the market, you might start here with something that we call it drips. And that means dollar cost averaging. And in dollar cost averaging, it goes like this. If you have $100,000 in your account, you can do program trading. And this is also part, you don't have to write this, I'm not gonna test you on that. This is for personal knowledge. So, using program trading, this is almost like using the weighted average. So you can instruct your broker or your trading platform that, hey, anytime the market dips by 5% or higher, buy $10,000 worth of my investment. Right? So, in this case, yes?
A standing order? Is that like a standing order?
Yeah. Can be conditional order, good till cancel. Right? Yes?
I would say this is more of an outlier because when's the last time that in 4 months it shot up 16%?
Well, we can test that going back in history, but
Because not every, right now, we're in, like you said, the longest streak of a bull market.
yes,
So while it is, you said, you can only get 2%, let's say in a bank, right? But on average, I would say your return's more likely to get 6 to 8% in the market.
that's long term.
Yeah.
But if we get
And a lot of this volatility is due to elections, stuff that's going on overseas.
yeah, but we had elections
Other
before,
markets.
so this is a 3-year period from 09 to 12. This is 146%. If you slice it down even further, you will find that in this bull market, we've seen some 15, 16% in 4 months. Not that unusual, but this is, you know what they call it, right? No? This is gonna be the platform for our beloved president. What is this? Take a look at the dates. This is Trump's rally. Right? So even if you wanna slice it a bit more, when did we have the elections? So this is the US elections results. So he can clearly claim that, listen, from the day that the world knew that I would be the president of the US, the stock market rallied by 56%. Right? So this is probably his claim to fame. So this equates to 27, almost 28% per year. Since we knew that Trump is gonna be our president. Now, you can be even cuter about it by doing this. And you can find out how the stock market did under the term of each president. When did Obama get into the office? 2008, 9? So this is Obama. And we can say during Obama years, the stock market rallied by 260%, but that's over 10 years, sorry, 8 years. So to annualize it, to find out how much each year, we're talking about an average of 70% per year. So far, if we are looking at Trump, even with the dip, we are looking almost double that. So this could be another project. Yes?
I don't see how it's double that if it goes up 32%, and if we split it in half, so it's annually, it'd be 16, wouldn't it?
No, but look at the period that we have.
Right, so if you split it annually between 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah. So 70% versus 70%, but this is only 2 years.
Over 8 years, it's actually 32.5% per year.
Which one?
259.63 divided by 8 is 32.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
The annualization has different, it's not simple division. Anyway, but if you want to compare the first 2 years of Obama, we compare them to the first 2 years of Trump, right? So, yeah, so Obama did better in the first 2 years. So 26% in his first 2 years. But then the argument here would be, yeah, but that was after the global financial crisis, and everything after a crash will look marvelous because you have a very low base. Anyway, I'm not here to give you any political message. All what I'm saying is this would be a very interesting topic to figure out, as I mentioned in my 224 class, investment strategies, who would do better for investors in the stock market, a Republican president or a Democrat president. Now, Bloomberg can show you that really easily by going this. And if we want to take a look at it, this is from the 60s. We see that we tend to have, or actually we had the major crisis during a Republican, a Democrat. This is Clinton, Al Gore. Then we had almost no movement during George Bush's time, right? Actually, we lost money. We started here, we ended here. And then we had a very nice comeback during Obama administration. But this is not to be confused with his own skills and mastery. This time here we had global financial crisis, and we had also helicopter money, once in a lifetime, right? But the rally continues to go. It will be very interesting to meet here after 2 years to find out where that point ends. It could end up here, or it could end down here, right? And this is where everything happens, where you can take a look at how to take advantage of that. Now, if I were you, I wouldn't want this to come here now. I want to finish school, start making money, have some cash, and get into the market when this here, right? So let it run, because we learned that the market will always give you another chance. Look at this here, right? So it erased all of this and gave you another entry point here. Didn't make much money, but if you started your 401k here and you went for the long haul, you made good money. Any questions? Questions? Yes?
So like I saw earlier today that Tesla's stock just for today went down 5%.
Yep.
But then immediately like rebounded and ended up at like 10% in the positive. So when you have like such extreme volatility like that in a single day, I mean, is there even any predictions that can be made off of that statistics, or is that kind of just an outlier?
I love this kind of questions. So this is 3-day move of Tesla stock, right? So what happened yesterday? This is 6:30 a.m. our time, and this is the market close. How much did it go up by yesterday? %15.5%. So in a single day, right, you did better than 7 years worth of money in the bank. Now, what happened today?
Well, I would say when a company finally has profits, yeah, it's gonna shoot up crazy like that.
So today it gave back 4% plus. So net, your 2 days gain stands at 11% something, right? Not too bad. But what's really been going on with this stock? This stock is widely watched and held. Extremely volatility. Extreme volatility is very something that's not unusual for this stock because it is a one-man show, right? So the guy appears with weed smoking video and all that, sells off. He makes some crazy comment, it sells off. And with this, there is no financial model that could predict the next move, right? What you can do with this is technical analysis, and I teach it in 135 and in 221. So with technical analysis, you will be looking at tick by tick stock movement. That's not daily, that's by minute, right? And you need to have access to NASDAQ level 2, so you'll be able to see the orders coming, who's buying, who's selling, what category, and based on that you can play it. But I caution you, at personal level, without access to NASDAQ level 2 or level 3, you'll be playing a Russian roulette game, right? You never know. Yes?
How do you get level 2 or level 3?
You pay for it?
Right, so is it after?
No, it's not available in school. We're not that complicated, right? We're happy that we got Bloomberg, but you don't get that. So here, you have the little clock icon that tells you the data that you are looking at right now is 15 minutes old. And if you are a daily trader, 15 minutes is eternity, right? Yes?
TD Ameritrade, you can get level 2 as level 2. I know level 2 is for you, but level 2 at TD Ameritrade is you can watch the who's buying and selling at what price, and it's live.
How much does it cost? Is it free?
Free.
Right? Then that's good. Yes?
For AMD.
AMD?
Yeah, tomorrow there's gonna be like a big dip because of earnings. Would you recommend getting?
I don't recommend anything in this class because I'm not gonna get paid if you make money. And if you lose money, you're gonna come back to school and say, well, this guy cost me money. So, AMD, you're saying that they missed their target?
Right.
And
They're expecting to drop 22% tomorrow.
why not 21 or 23? Now, one thing that you need to know, if you know it, that means the whole world knows it. And if they know it, guess what's gonna happen? One thing that you need to know, this is the closing price of AMD, 22.79. It doesn't have to open at that, right? So we don't start from where we close. So tomorrow, let's say, if I were the owner of AMD stock and I heard the news and I would say, well, you know what, market, I'm totally cool. I want to sell it at 22.79. And then the market maker in New York Stock Exchange will look, all right, guys, I have somebody who wants to sell it at 22.79. And then he'll be waiting for orders. And how many orders he gets? 0. Then the market maker would say, well, you know what, I cannot fill you at this level. You need to drop it down. And if the calculations are correct, that this is gonna go down by 22% plus, so you take practically off this price around $5 roughly, and then they will tell you that we have a bid for $17, take it or leave it. And this would be the new price for AMD. So remind me on Monday to take a look at this again, and we'll see what the market reaction was. So with that, this is what we call it efficient market theory. If you know it, then she knows it, then he knows it, everybody knows it, and as a result, it's not gonna be new information to the market that's gonna shock it. the market will open lower for bad news, but nothing more than that. Any other questions? Questions? All good? All right. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna look at the final project. This will be posted either tomorrow or Friday. This is exactly what I had back in fall of 2017. And this is what the final project is all about. So the final project in DS-101, the purpose of this project is to have a hands-on approach to implement what you have learned this semester and presented in a way that communicates your findings and understanding of the material. So what does that mean? I talked about this before, so you need to conceptually think of building a model that explains and predicts independent variable, right? In class, we talked about home sales, right? We talked about it a lot, to be a function of many independent variables such as employment, interest rates, consumer sentiment, blah, 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 right? So the previous independent variables make a logical sense to explain the rise and decline in home sales. In a very similar fashion, you need to think of dependent variable that interest you and find independent variables to make a logical sense to explain it and predict it, right? You don't need to write this down, you will have it. So once you determine your independent and dependent variable, check with the data banks that were presented in class. So I mentioned to you several data banks that we can go to, or go to the business librarian and ask about the databases that could be a good source, right? So how do we organize it? Make sure that you will have, yes?
You already predicted what AFD is at. It's already at 17.
What can I do, right? Yeah. If I only shorten it, right? Okay. So the first thing is we need to have a cover page. And the cover page, basically, it's gonna be telling the story, right? And this is in the scholarly articles that you read, they call it abstract. In business, we call it executive summary. And this is no longer than a paragraph. So if I didn't have time and I have to board the plane and I'm in this tube getting into my seat, I grab it and I read it. I would say, our group was interested in uncovering airline ticket prices. What determines airline ticket prices? We did scholarly literature review and we found that researchers looked at fuel price, available flights, length of the trip, whatever, right? For this project, we identified 3 independent variables. Happen to be unemployment rate, consumer sentiment, and jet fuel prices. We ran a regression using those 3 independent variables, and we found the regression to be statistically significant at 95% confidence level, right? I'm sounding like a commercial right now, right? And the regression happens to be statistically significant. Those 3 variables, they have a significant, statistically significant relationship with the dependent variable, and the strongest independent variable that explains ticket prices happens to be jet fuel prices, right? That's it. So this is your entire semester worth of work. Now we get into section 1. So here it explains the project, right? Section 2, an introduction page that explains why you are interested in the dependent variable and why you think the dependent variables can be used to explain the dependent variable. So here, why you're interested in it, I mean, you can fake it, you can truly, genuinely explain it. I don't care, but don't give me 6 pages on that, right? I mean, just nice and simple. I'm interested in home prices because eventually I'm gonna buy a house and I would like to time it right to see when it's going up, when it's going down. Good enough, right? Then why do you think the independent variables can be used to explain the dependent variable? There is the logical test, right? And there is the literature review. So the logical test, if we are buying something with borrowed money, right? Then obviously interest rate on the borrowed money will obviously make sense to influence what we're gonna buy with the borrowed money. If interest rate drops, meaning borrowed money gets cheaper, then this is gonna translate into lower home mortgage payment, so people can afford it easier, right? So this is an example of logical test. Now the literature review, you would say, I reviewed 5 scholarly articles. Bashar and company found that unemployment rate has a direct negative relationship with home prices. John and Summers found that unemployment rate happens to be statistically insignificant dealing with home prices. Blah, blah, blah. 3 or 4 examples that should do it. And then you need to let me know why it's important to forecast the dependent variable. So for home prices, I'm in the market to buy a home. I would like to find whether the home prices right now are overvalued or undervalued. This is very important also, for example, for my employer. I work for Lennar Homes, and this model should help Lennar Homes to determine how much to charge for their homes, or whether they should build more homes or less homes. Should they acquire more land? Should they buy more construction material? Because the demand on housing is going to get higher and things will start getting more expensive. So that's the story here. Any questions? Questions? All right. So in your Microsoft Word document, this is what you do. You start with each section and you fill in underneath it, so you don't miss anything, and you will have a nice skeleton for your project. I'm not gonna go around and look for what belongs where, right? So if I don't see it in the front of me, just like a turkey, you move the food from here to here, the turkey will starve. You need to be in your face, exactly like what I have in my house, right? Go get me some Kleenex. Oh, what is it? Well, it's here. It used to be here. No, then it's here. I can't see it. Well, all right. So that's the story here. Section 3, data description. In this section, you need to let me know all the information that pertains to your data. So each data series needs to be explained. And when I say you need to explain it, you need to explain the definition of the data series. So if you're using home prices, you're gonna tell me what kind of home prices you're using, right? So as I mentioned in class, I did my regression using single family home sales at national level. And the data source, bullet point number 2, comes from Fred, and it's measured in thousands of US dollars. It is monthly frequency or quarterly frequency, and it goes from January 1990 till November of 2018, right? So this is not only for the dependent variable, but also for the independent variables. Because the goal here is, if 5 years down the road, you decided, God, yeah, that was a good project, or that was an ugly project, whatever the case is, and you pick it out, you need to be able to replicate the work if you needed to, right? And I cannot tell you enough how many emails over the years I've been teaching for the last 18 years, right? Probably when some of you were in their teens still, right? Maybe like 2 or 3 years old. All of a sudden, after 6, 7 years, hey, Bashar, I was in your class back in 2005. I remember we did this in class. Can you send me the notes? And then I'll say, delete, right? So, no, I don't say that. But I say, well, you didn't take notes. Let's have lunch. You buy. And, right, we talk about it. But, yeah, this is something that comes with a good shelf life. Yes?
Does that part need to be in a paragraph format, or can we just like give you bullet points?
A bullet points is fine. Remember, there is no APA, MLA kind of, you know, I'm just gonna stop here because we have classes around this that they're teaching this stuff. I don't care as long as it's professionally presented.
So if the definitions and descriptions of the data set are specific, like scientific definitions, you don't want those cited, right?
What do you mean?
For example, so I'm doing my project on wine, and if I need to define the acidity, and I need to pull that information.
So if you're gonna tell me like the acidity of this wine is pH from this to that,
Correct. It's not very like common sense. Do you want that cited, or?
as long as you're not gonna confuse me with organic chemistry, I took a couple of those classes. I can understand it, but just put it for somebody without chemistry background. I have chemistry background, I can understand it, so, right? But use very simple language, it's always better.
So you're
Yeah,
saying-
dumb it down.
You're saying in section 2 to kind of keep everything together, so you're not having to look everywhere for it. Does that mean that you want any graphs or any kind of visuals just kind of mixed in, or do you want them in an appendix?
It's more in the appendix.
Okay.
Unless it's really relevant immediately, you're gonna talk about it right now.
Okay.
Like, my first homework for 221, I have no idea how some of them made it to MBA level. I said compare 2 stocks, and they just basically cut and paste from Google Finance or Yahoo Finance, and boom, boom, boom. Okay, what I'm gonna do with this? So the rule of thumb, whenever you put a table or a graph, you need to tell me what's the point of it. Otherwise, I'm gonna make the wrong impression out of it and assume that you meant it, right? So no good intentions here. You spell it out, you let the reader know what you want him or her to get out of this. Now we have descriptive statistics. Of the dependent and independent variable, you know how to do it, it's really quick. You will put 1 page worth of the descriptive statistics, summary statistics of all of those guys, and then you comment on it. So when you comment on it, don't tell me the average is 15.3, the standard deviation is 14.9. Well, I can see that, right? What you would comment on is extreme values, right? So if you say, wow, I'm looking at my home summary statistics, home price summary statistics, and if you look at the average versus the standard deviation, the average happens to be 4 times higher, 2 times higher. Strong high standard deviation, low standard deviation. What does that imply? This is what you look at. And then we need to graph the dependent and the independent variables, each on a separate graph with Bollinger Bands. And when you graph them, you need to comment on outliers and the most recent point, and the directionality, the trend, right? We did something tonight. So, for example, if we're looking at home prices, you would say, whoa, home prices reached their peak back in June 2007. And ever since, it has been a declining trend till June 2013. And from June 2013, when interest rate hit rock bottom, we start seeing a rebound in home prices. Right now, we stand 60%, 50% from all times high, right? So something that should give me an impression that you understand what you're looking at. The other thing is comment on the very last reading. What does it look like relative to the moving average and the Bollinger Bands? Is it a buy right now? Is it a sell right now? Is it a screaming sell? Is it a screaming buy? Right? So you need to put some meat on that graph. Any questions? Questions? Normally you're too quiet, but when you start getting your hands dirty with this project, you will have a million of them. And at that time, I don't know if I'll have time to answer them. All right, let's move on. Come on. So section 4, this is your model. So here you need to show your multiple regression, clearly state the regression equation, and explain with numerical example. So this is exactly like what we did out of sample testing, right? So with out of sample testing, what did we do? We created, and you have it on WebCT, I posted the file. We grabbed those values of the independent variable, we plugged them in, and we got out the result. So when I say and explain with a numerical example, you can tell me, okay, this is my dependent variable home prices. If GDP goes from 2.2% to 3.2%, unemployment goes from 3.8% to 4.5%, and consumer sentiment goes from 59 to 78. What's going to happen to home prices? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Right? So that's really important. Other places I've seen it when they say a 1% increase in GDP, other things being equal, impacts home prices by 15,000. Right? This is also important. Then you're going to say whether this regression is statistically significant, why or why not, and there is no opinion here, there is cold hard facts using hypothesis testing. So you're gonna show me your hypothesis, the alternate, critical values, calculated value, where it's significant, and the conclusion. This project is very easy to grade because I will jump immediately to this section. If it is wrong, then everything else is wrong, right? And that's why at some point around or after Thanksgiving, we will hit the brakes and you'll start coming and see me. So you show me your project, you show me your progress, and we'll start cleaning things up. Now, if you're concerned whether you're gonna pass the class or not, the final project, mentally speaking, carries a lot of weight, right? But come on, don't flunk the first 2 exams and you tell me, well, you said the final project is gonna pull me over. No, right? So, we're still gonna have a second midterm, right? I forgot about that. Okay, so that's the hypothesis testing, picking alpha you like, and clearly stated. The default of alpha that we use in this class is 95%. But who said that you have to go with it? In Excel, when it says confidence level 95%, you can pump it up to 99%, or you can bring it down to 90%, right? So it's only a key entry, you can change it. So why do I say this? Because one of your variables might look at 1 a.m. that, damn it, this is not statistically significant. I'm not gonna go back to the library, right? So what are you gonna do at that point?
Make it statistically
Hey,
significant.
bring it down. So instead of 95%, just dumb it down to 90, right? So when you bring it down to 90, if it the statistically insignificant turns statistically significant, then what? We're good, right? Now, this is not gonna be the best model, but technically, it's correct. So that's the case here. So the implications are what we're after. We're not after number crunching only. So here you're going to tell me, based on my regression model, it seems that those three independent variables are statistically significant and very important in determining home prices. Then, that being said, you have the last readings of your independent variables and the last reading of home prices, actual readings. You're going to tell me whether this is a good time to buy a house or a good time to sell a house. Because remember, this class is decision science. I want you to use all these tools to reach the right conclusion. Then, chapter 5, that we haven't covered yet, this is going to be our topic going forward, is forecasting. We're going to learn 3 or 4 forecasting models, aside from the regression. And we're going to evaluate each forecasting model, and we're going to reach a decision about the best, most accurate forecasting model. You're going to do this for your dependent variable. And based on that, you will evaluate your forecasting models, and finally, you can use an optimizer, and I put between brackets here, it's an extra credit because you might need to watch a couple of videos about an optimizer. And this is a function in Excel called Solver. An extremely powerful tool that a lot of people are using it, and it spits out for you something called sensitivity analysis, right? You write these keywords in your resume, you apply for any quant-driven jobs or financial jobs aside from the banking, because banking in this country is not what it is in other places. Bankers here are salespeople. Am I offending any bankers here? No? So they're sales. You go, oh, well, I did it in the past. Right? I was under the impression, being a banker, that you will, hey, let's talk about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, investments, way to save money, way to grow money. But no, they would like to open for you 5 checking accounts and 7 savings accounts, and try to meet the manager target so the manager can go to Hawaii and bring you some chocolate covered macadamia nuts or something, right? And they will pocket the money, and if they get caught, you will get fired. So that's the optimizer. And on section 6, you will just conclude, right? So you summarize your findings again. You tell me whether you had fun or not with this project, what did you learn out of it, and how it can be implemented in real life and in making money, right? Because remember, you're here to get skills to make more money getting out, right? The worst outcome would be for some of you who are already working, right? To graduate from here and you make the same amount of money or less. That's a disaster. Yeah? So that's the case. Yesterday I was with an Uber driver and I said, well, how is Uber? And he said, well, this is the best thing ever. Really? I heard lots of people complaining about Uber, you're not making money. I said, no, it's all about strategy. I said, what strategy are you talking about? He said, I'm up and running at 3 a.m. And last week I was lucky, I got 3 SFOs. Right?
What are SFOs?
SFOs going from Sacramento to San Francisco Airport, right? This is it. He made the car payment after the first 2 trips. Now we have tons of people on Uber that they wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? They go to McDonald's to have their breakfast, and God, there is no rides here. All right, $5 ride here, $10 ride there. So when you back up all that, and then he went further to show me how he attracts a repeated customer by giving them his own phone number. So he bypasses Uber. Uber doesn't like that, but I mean, Big Brother's not watching, I guess. And when you ride in that car, extremely beyond reason, clean, smells wonderfully well, right? Small fridge with cold water and candy, right? So that guy, if I wanted to give him like 15 out of 5 stars, I would have, right? But I couldn't. So it's all about differentiation, right? A million Uber driver out there. I haven't, and I use them in like 6 countries. I've never ever rode with one with candy and cold water, free, right? So after you leave that car, I mean, come on, you feel obligated. Even if the ride was 18 bucks, you'll leave them $5, $6 just because, right? And a good comment, yeah.
Is that Uber Black?
No. Well, I'm too cheap. I don't take Uber. Unless Calvin pays for it, okay?
Did he give you his personal number?
Yep. Can't share it with you though.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, why can't you give it to us? We're gonna make a
No,
little
I
sense.
don't want to get the guy in trouble.
I'm
Right?
trying to help him out, right?
Well, hey,
I
the
guess
guarantee is that somebody's gonna call Uber on him. Because they're not allowed to do that.
I guess I'm gonna drop out of school
Why?
and become an Uber driver.
Well, if you distinguish yourself, then, right? I know people that they go to San Francisco on Friday afternoon and they come back Sunday with $1,000.
I
Right?
used to get like 300 in a night.
Yeah. Right.
Easy.
Right? And those guys, they sleep in the car too. Right? But, I mean, if you're young and thirsty for some good money early on, I mean, never better economy than this. Anyway, I talked a lot. Your turn now. And by the way, talking about dropping out of school, the level of success in Stanford PhD program, if you finish your dissertation, that doesn't mean you're very successful. If you drop out halfway through, then this is the degree of success because they'll be working on a project that they don't want to wait to publish their paper on for the market to steal it. An example of that would be George Chapers of Cisco Systems. Halfway through his PhD, he got out and he founded Cisco Systems. Similarly with the guys who founded Google, Intuit, and many other places. So, not a bad idea. No, you didn't hear it from me, right? Any questions?
Hey, can you help me buy a stock?
Was that?
Can you help me buy a stock?
Well, individual investors, turn this off. Individual investors shouldn't buy a single stock, right? Unless you are married to it. There is too many moving parts that you're not going to be able to follow. Any questions about the project?
Specific to our project.
Okay, go ahead.
Just about variables, so our project is gold, and as we discussed in class, gold and silver have a very strong correlation. Could we use silver as one of our independent variables?
If they are extremely highly correlated, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Questions? Yes,
So it's not related to the project.
go ahead.
I was just curious, because I was reading an article on Yahoo that was saying NASDAQ with its recent drops is now officially recognized as a formal correction.
Yep.
How is that defined? Like one, index is now officially in a correction. Is it by percentage or?
Well, that's a good question for the author of the article, that if they say that if you sustain 5% drops back to back or within a week or something, then this will be a correction territory. It's all definitional,
Okay.
right? It's not a hardcore science about with a correction. I showed it on Bloomberg, and it shows that NASDAQ erased pretty much everything that it did in 2018. So it could be that. Any others? Others? No questions? All right, so what I'm gonna do from here is I will formalize this, polish it up a little bit more, maybe add to it, take out of it, and then it will be published on your site. Then you start working. I'm cautioning you right now, some people haven't even started. I'll tell you, time's gonna fly from here. And I've seen it in my graduate class, people will let you down. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna be a group counselor. It's your problem, it's your selection. If you have serious doubts about the seriousness of your group members, drop out right now, right? And for those of you who are into free lunches, right? I hope that we don't have any. Please don't do that to others. If you know that you are not capable of doing the work, try to have your F quietly on the side. Don't drag others with you. Because at the end of the day, I have nothing to do with somebody, because I've seen it in the past. The project would be turned in at section 5. That was John's section. He didn't turn it in. There. Well, Joe, whatever. Right? So don't tell me, well, this is my part of the project. Do I get A on it? No, you didn't get A on everything. So we're not gonna slice and dice your project. So from now, self-imposed deadlines, hard stops, and give yourself enough time for Murphy's Law, because something is gonna go wrong. You're gonna delete the data somehow. You're gonna screw up the graphs last minute. You will lose the file. Save on multiple places. Communicate well, and I think you should be in good hands. If you have no questions, let's call it off for the night, and I'll see you Monday.